Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Art Tipaldi. I'm the editor of Blues Review magazine, which is the largest blues magazine in the world. And today we're here interviewing and speaking with one of the great young blues guitar players out there, Albert Cummings. Hi, Albert. Good evening.
Hello, Art.
And I'd like to start with you by sort of saying, you know, I know a lot of people my age got into the blues because of the influence of Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. But you're of a different generation, and you're of the generation who came to the blues through Stevie Ray Vaughn. And
This is true.
and so I'm wondering if you could tell us what it was about Stevie that impressed you when you first heard him, and how old were you?
Well, I was about 13, I think, when I first heard Stevie Ray play,
Mm-hmm.
and that was only on cassette tapes at that time.
That's right.
And I had a brother-in-law at the time that was giving me tapes of Stevie Ray playing, and it was Texas Flood. And he'd say, check this guy out. And I played five-string banjo a little bit then, a little tiny bit of guitar. And my father played guitar, and he always played a kind of his solos were always very close to the same solo, very original. He played a lot of the big band era music, Stardust and Moonlight in Vermont, all that stuff. And when I heard Stevie play, I only had one guy to compare to, which was my father. So I thought Stevie must have been a fake, because it was so big. It was a wall of sound coming out.
Yeah.
And I'd listen, and then I eventually went to Wentworth in Boston. I went to school, and one day I was walking down the street, and I saw a bus with a Gibson Les Paul and a Fender Strat crossed on the side.
Right.
And I said, "God, I wonder who this is," you know. And I looked at the sign; it said Stevie Ray Vaughn and Double Trouble, and I couldn't get anybody to go with me. He was just coming out at that point. Well, I guess Texas Flood had been out, so he was there. But I went to the show by myself, and came out of that show literally, it was Goodbye Banjo,
Yeah.
and it was Stevie that just caught me. He always, he grabbed your attention, and that's what I look for today in any players, no matter what instrument it is do they command me
Right.
to watch them?
Yeah.
And that's very rare, so you can't, it's very rare. But Stevie did.
Yeah.
And I had no idea, when you first, are introduced to somebody like that, you think that's, we're all melting pots, we're all like products of what we're influenced by, just like you just asked. So I didn't know Stevie Ray was anything but Stevie Ray, but then I started to get interested in what he did and started to learn a little bit about him, and then all of a sudden, I always say he opened the door to the blues to me.
Sure.
So I opened the door and there's Albert King, the first guy you meet.
Yeah.
And then you walk down the hall and you meet Freddie and you meet BB and you meet Albert Collins and you meet all these people. And I still remember that. I still love to do that with any new artist that I can find, is opening that door and finding out what's in their little chest, because those are the people that you want to, you get a whole bonus from what you learned from the first guy.
That's right.
And all the licks that I heard Stevie do, like, that's Albert's.
Yeah.
That's this. But like B.B. King said to me once, we don't steal licks, we borrow
We
them.
borrow them. Yeah. Yeah. So what's it like now as a 19-year-old seeing Stevie on stage?
Mhm.
What do you do then? Do you go home and pull out the guitar or listen to the cassettes back in those days?
Yeah.
How do you take what you see and then start to play it?
It's you have to really get over a step, and I have people tell me this, that, oh my God, you scare me, I'll never touch a guitar, there's no way I'll touch a guitar, and I'm like, don't feel like that. You have everything that every other guitarist has, and that's a brain and two hands, and it's a piece of wood with metal tied on it. That's how you got to look at it, because you can get intimidated by it. So it was 8 years later before I said, I'm going to learn some Stevie stuff.
Oh, okay.
I mean, really, it was starting to influence me, but I never wanted to be like Stevie or anything. I just
Right.
wanted to learn where he came from, and I wanted to combine that with all my other people that I'd learned about.
Right.
So you have to get over that first feeling of, oh, I'll never be as good as that guy.
Right.
Because, nobody will ever be like Stevie as far as I'm concerned. He's on a plateau that's so far up, I couldn't even,
Yeah.
there's nothing to get me there. And what's funny is I spent a lot of time with Double Trouble, and Stevie's best friend was Tommy Shannon.
Right.
And Tommy would tell me that Hendrix was on a plateau that Stevie couldn't get to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's all relative, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we all strive to be as best as we can and not try to be somebody else.
Right. What's the effect of Stevie Ray Vaughan on you today? Now, what would that be? Almost 20 years since that epiphany.
Yeah.
Seeing him live, and maybe 30 years since getting the cassette.
Yeah, you know what I like finding is some old bootleg of Stevie. That's where I like to find
Mhm.
it because that's where you learn things you don't hear.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
listen to the records a lot. I do that a lot with anybody.
Right.
I don't listen to myself or anything. I just always looking for something that commands me to listen to, you know. So it's not that I don't listen to Stevie, but when I get a hold of a good bootleg and I listen to it, I'm like, listen, that's the whole other side I didn't know.
Right.
You know, like spending a lot of time with Tommy was nice because you'd hear about these things.
Yeah.
Or Tommy'd have this little tidbit of a recording and he'd play it for you in the car and be like, listen to that.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
cool.
so he's still one of my greatest idols. But I'm not like, it's not like I have a shrine at my house where I,
Yeah.
go to every night. I just, he's a big piece of my melting pot, you know. But,
That's right. Yeah.
But again,
And I imagine, like anything, a book or whatever, to find something else about an author who you like, it just adds to the love that you have of them, or
Exactly.
the humanness that they have.
Mhm. Mhm.
When you can look at them now with a mature
yeah.
vision. Sure.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm older in life, so I look at what they achieved.
Mm.
And after you've done that for a while, you realize it's not so easy.
Yeah.
It's not the you see a lot of people that just think, oh, you're playing that you're all set for the rest of your life. It's like, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
You gotta work every day. You gotta work at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Can you tell us a little bit about what your relationship with Double Trouble has been, and how you first met them, and what it's meant to?
well, I've told the story so many times.
Yeah, I know.
You've probably heard it, but it's a funny story, and it's one of those stories that I always, still to this day, say, did that really happen? But I got my start in Albany, New York,
Mhm.
so that's where I started to play a lot. And then Rensselaer Polytech RPI was going to have a blues day, and they said, we want you to be the local, headliner, but we want to have a national act in. And they asked, who do you think we should get for a national headliner? And I said, jokingly, why don't you have Double Trouble come play with me, as a joke? And they said, that's a great idea. And then I had a little club demo that got sent out, and like 2 weeks later, a yes answer came back. And I was freaked right out because I just brand new to it,
Yeah.
I was 28 then, but I was still brand new to music.
Yeah.
And the last place I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan Double Trouble play was the RPI Fieldhouse. The next time I go in to the RPI Fieldhouse, I walk in with Double Trouble. And we did a show there, and then we booked another show that night in Saratoga,
Mhm.
New York. And we had a great night of dynamics. And just, it's like, they'd be like, well, who were your influences? I'd be like, you guys. So it was just fun, fun all night long. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving back to the hotel, and they said, Albert, you got to do a CD. And I was like, well, I've always wanted to do one, but I don't know how this works. I don't know. They said, well, we want to play on it, and we want to produce it. And I drove by 3 exits going down from Saratoga, drove right by where I was supposed to bring them.
Yeah.
And just kept driving. I was just freaked out.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing, but I'm like 20 minutes over on the exit.
Right.
I said, I missed the exit, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We got to go back. But, and then in music, you hear everything. You hear, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Oh, I got this guy, it's going to do this. And you don't pay any attention to it. You eventually become static. You just, when things happen, they happen, and they're meant to happen. And I didn't think that it would really happen. And the next thing I know, I'm in Austin, walking down 6th Street with Double Trouble.
Yeah.
And on my way down, the week before I'm going down, Chris Layton said, we're bringing down Reese for this too. And I was like, Reese Winans? Are you serious? And yeah, they brought the whole band in. So it was the first time they did an entire album with an artist since Stevie Ray passed. And I mean, talk about, it was the best, it was the greatest opportunity, but it was the best, like, school of hard knocks that I needed, because as a young guitarist, just look out of the glass at Double Trouble, and they're sitting there like, play me something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I was so scared, and you know, I had Tommy joke that I had red light fever every time the record button would go on. I'd
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
And they taught me so much. You know, it was just like they taught me so much, and everything was based on, you know, what Stevie would tell me the whole time. It was just this wonderful opportunity that I'll never forget, and I'm so grateful for it.
I mean, the validation of them must have really made you feel like I do have something to say.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
I guess, but you know, and I asked Tommy once, I said, why am I here?
Yeah.
Why am I here, Tommy? And he said, you're here because Hendrix played with fire, Stevie played with fire, and you play with fire. And he made it very clear to say, I'm not the only guy that can play with fire.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But he said that's why we wanted to, you know, do this with you. And
Yeah.
that album was called From the Heart, which never really went out
Mm-hmm.
nationally or anything. But it was called From the Heart because I asked Tommy one night, what would Stevie tell me to do? We were having an interesting little side bit, but we were in the studio and we were doing this one song, and I had a little bit of trouble and whatever, just kind of stuck on something. And Tommy goes out and he's like, well, let's go to dinner, and he says, we'll be back. He comes back in an hour. He comes back with all these pictures of Stevie before he had made it.
Mm-hmm.
And he lights candles, he dims the lights in the studio, and he makes this little shrine, whatever you want to call it, around me. And he said, Stevie would tell you to play from the heart right now. So that's where the name of the album came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did this come at the right time for you? At what did you say, you were 28?
Yeah, I was
Well-
28 or 29 at that time.
In other words,
Brand new. I didn't even,
yeah.
you know.
Had this happened to you when you were 18 or 19, would this have been an opportunity
I don't
you
think
might
they
have
would have
pissed
chose
away?
me at 18 or 19.
Yeah.
You know, people always say, well, oh, you should have done this when you were younger.
Yeah.
But we're all different, and to me, I don't think you can play this music until you know who yourself is. If you don't know who yourself is, you can't fake the blues. If it's real, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes, and to me, blues is an expression of your emotions. Happy, sad, mad, whatever you are.
Yeah.
And I didn't know my emotions at 20. I probably thought I did.
Yeah.
But, and I didn't know my emotions when I was 29.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know.
And when you were, you know, you have enough humility that when you do this CD at 29, you know, sort of, with a little bit of maturity and humility, what to expect. Whereas at 18 or 19, you walking around, I made a record with double. I mean, I could see a lot of people doing that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very proud of it. But you know, on the reverse side, I mean, nobody will ever fill Stevie's shoes.
Right.
And I, you know, there was some reviews that came, oh, he's trying to be. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for Stevie. There's no.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, but
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, on the other hand, too, if you can make somebody go to listen to Stevie, some new
Well, that's
person
it.
into
I
the
mean,
into the genre.
You probably heard me say my main goal in life is to bring publicity back to B.B. King.
Right.
Not kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
the guy that, you know, equally as important of a person to me is Stevie.
Mhm.
For what he came from, where he is, and who he is.
Yeah.
He's the most humble gentleman, on stage and off. And you still can find people that don't know who he is.
Yeah. You could find a lot of people.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, it's just sad. But
That's right.
and that's what I try to do. I try to
Yeah.
bring attention back to these guys.
Yeah.